รบกวนถ้าได้ยินให้ตอบ
พูดได้แล้ว
สวัสดีค่ะเสียงชัดเจนไหมคะรบกวนผู้เข้าอบรมช่วยตอบด้วยนะคะพอดีเรากำลังเทคอยู่นะคะว่าเสียงชัดเจนไหมอ๋อชัดเจนค่ะ ถ้าอย่างนั้นเดี๋ยวเราขอเริ่มเลยนะคะเพื่อไม่ให้เป็นการเสียเวลานะคะอันนี้จะเป็นการอบรมข้อมูลการใช้งานข้อมูล Country Analysis Advanced Global นะคะซึ่งเราจะใช้เวลาประมาณ1 ชั่วโมงนะคะถ้าในช่วงแรกนะคะเดี๋ยวรบกวนท่านuser นะคะปิดไมค์นะคะแล้วก็ถ้ามีคำถามนี่ก็เดี๋ยวช่วงท้ายก็ถามได้เลยนะคะค่ะเดี๋ยวขอผู้บรรยายของเรานะคะจะคุณแจสันนะคะจากประเทศสิงคโปร์นะคะซึ่งวันนี้ก็จะบรรยายเป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะคะส่วนการใช้งานเนี่ยก็เดี๋ยวเราจะมีข้อมูลส่งให้ทางหลังจากอบรมแล้วนะคะงั้นขอเรียนเชิญคุณแจสันเลยค่ะ
Okay, you go. Okay. Hi everyone, good morning. Please let me know if you are not able to hear me at any time or if you have any questions. Thank you, Kun Sukanya, for the nice introduction. As she mentioned, my name is Jason from the EIU. Today, we'll be bringing you through EIU Viewpoint, which the ministry has access to. So essentially, this is a platform that everyone in the ministry can actually access. You should be seeing the platform come up on your screen right now. Please let us know if you are not able to see your screen. So yeah, without further ado, let me just go ahead and bring you through the platform. It's a very comprehensive platform that will definitely help in today's very volatile environment and world. So before we start, let me just take a step back and introduce a bit of EIU. So EIU here, we are the intelligence arm of the Economist Group. You might have come across our more famous publication, the Economist magazine. But at EIU, we are independent and separate, and we essentially help our clients like you to understand what's happening around the world, understand from a geopolitical and macroeconomic perspective. We do a lot of forecasting, which I will show later on in the presentation. So please feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So this is the main landing page of EIU Viewpoint, and you will notice that actually on EIU Viewpoint, it's actually a very simple navigation. You see at the top, there is actually a navigation toolbar. So if you see where my cursor is right now, if you're looking to look at a particular geography, at a particular industries, this is where you will actually hop onto instantly. But going down on the global page, this is where we do a global overview. So essentially, we provide you with a high-level overview of what's happening around the world, and then we start to narrow down to the regional level and then on the country level as well. So on a global level, this is our view and our forecast is updated on a monthly basis. So as you can see, this is actually updated our most recent forecast where we factor in a lot of what's happening vis-a-vis the US tariffs as well. So as you can see from the right, there's actually some interactive charts. You'll notice all these such charts throughout our site. And as you go on, you notice there is this read more and all. This is where we have a lot of those deeper analysis. So if I take you into one of this, which is actually a really, really good analysis piece that we publish, just give it a second to load. Archimedean is this very famous Greek philosopher that discovered about density and all. So this is essentially what we are talking about when it comes to the trade, before the trade and tariffs. So if you look through, this is a type of analysis that you will find throughout our site, where we estimate, for example, the impact of Chinese imports, right? And this is how we actually go about it. So throughout our analysis, you find a lot of detailed, whether is it graphics or charts, as well as we do a lot of forecasting as well. We help you to understand potentially with all the tariffs that's ongoing, what are some of these considerations you need to actually be thinking about. And this actually explains a bit of it as well. Right, so essentially this article shows you how, who are the winners, what are the areas that are, potentially losers when it comes to, with the flood of Chinese imports, for example. right? So I think this will be something that will be very interesting for the ministry as well. Right, as you can see, it's a very detailed article as well. So for all articles on the site, all right, you can actually download it. So you can actually save it as a PDF. So if you're looking to share it internally within the ministry or share it with your colleagues, this is something that you can use. So going back onto the main global page, if I scroll a bit further down, you notice we have throughout our site, you will find these reports called the one-click report. All right, so for the one-click report, this is where we give you a very detailed, almost 30 pages long report, and this is updated on a monthly basis, right? And the good thing is that we actually help you to understand what are some of the changes in our forecast since the last time we published it. So for example, since the June report, these are some of the changes that we have put when it comes to our global view, our global outlook as well, right? And if you see on the left side, this is where you can actually use it to scroll. So as I mentioned, this one-click report is very much to give you a very good high-level overview of what's happening around the world. We talk about things like the exchange rates, for example. All right, we talk about things like world trade. We look very closely at trade and supply chains. So those are things that we cover as well here. And something that we look very closely at, and I'm sure a lot of you in the ministry looks at as well, is on risk. So I'm sure as in today's world, there's a lot of risk, risk of, for example, conflict, risk of trade wars, risk of cyber attacks and all. So these are all things that we actually flag and highlight on a global level, and we give you a lot of context, understanding some of the trigger and also understanding the impact as well, right? Here at EIU, we cover 6 key industries. So we also have our global overview of all these key industries as well. So whether it be consumer goods all the way down to automotive, these are things that we update on a monthly basis to give you a very good overview of how all these geopolitical developments are affecting the key industries. All right. Are there any questions at this time? Please feel free to raise your hand or just put it in the chat box if there are any questions. All right. So yeah, coming down back onto the global page, we have this insight section. So insights are where we take a lot of feedback from clients, and we also look a lot on some of these strategic and some of these key trends, thematic topics that we are following closely. So for example, with all the tariffs, right? President Trump calls it Liberation Day. And of course, if you follow the news, I'm sure you know there was the second part of the liberation, right? The most recent one, the August deadline and also this is something that we cover very intensively. So you notice that we segment our articles based on what has happened. So this is things that you read in the news, right? Here at EIU, we are not the news. We're not your typical CNN, BBC. We don't cover just the news, but we help you to understand the implication from the news. So we help you to understand why does this matter. So for example, with all the new reciprocal tariffs that President Trump has introduced, this is where we help you to analyze it. So for example, if you're looking for, you can actually search for a particular country. So it's actually very interactive throughout our site. You notice that we allow you to interact with our charts and data a bit more. These are all part of the continued investments that we have placed into our site as well. So coming further down, we talk about things like, we help you to look back all the way up to, the Smoot-Hawley era where US imposed tariffs, and we help you to understand how this are all, how is this playing out in today's world. At the same time, I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we do a lot of forecasting. So we actually help you to understand what are the things and implications you should be looking at next. So for example, looking ahead, you should be cautious that there will be more sector-specific tariffs, right? And of course, vis-a-vis the US and China framework, it looks likely to be extended, for example. So these are all something that you can find on what we call all these event-driven pieces that we actually publish. And just to remind you, all these articles can actually be downloaded via the PDF function here. All right. So going back onto the global page, as I highlighted, these are all under the insight section. You can actually click on see all, and you actually see that we actually cover a lot of things. But again, just to remind you, this is all very much on the global overview. So coming further down, I do encourage all of you to take a look at what we call this thematic page. And the reason so is that I'm sure day to day you guys are very busy. Everyone in the ministry is, rightfully so, with everything that's happening. So you might not have the time to browse through the site, but you want to hone in straight on a particular topic or particular issue. And this is where we help you to actually segment it very quickly. So for example, I would believe a lot at the ministry would be very concerned about supply chain shifts or even some of the trade wars. So everything that EIU has written on, everything that we have published on our analysis is all under the thematic topic that you see. So if you're looking for trade war, come on to here, everything around the world, everything. So things from like BOC all the way down to, 5 key points on new US tariffs to Mexico, everything is all going to be segmentized here. So you're going to save a lot of time just by coming onto here rather than slowly searching it. Right, so do take a look at the thematic page. As you see, we have things from conflict in China, conflict in the Middle East, Trump presidency, all the way down to Ukraine war, which is still ongoing, unfortunately. We even have a very interesting topic called the space economy. We talk about things like China's relation with the West, interest rates and currencies, industries of the future. So anything relating to AI, for example, you'll find this all under here. Geopolitics, or if you just want to know about some of the elections that are upcoming in key countries that you follow, these are all actually under here as well. So we also look at things like agriculture and food security, which I believe along with climate and sustainability will be of interest as well. So yes, these are all things that you can actually find under the thematic page. And again, it is all very extensive and it's all on the global page. All right, so actually coming down, you can actually see we also do a 5-year forecast, but these are all also in the one-click report, which you can actually pull out as well. Right, so what I've just brought you through is actually very much what we call the global page. Very quickly, on the global level, we also cover the 6 key industry as I mentioned. So you can actually use this tab here to actually scroll and browse onto the particular industry that you're looking at. We also do publish some of the reports as well. So for example, these are some of the consumer goods on a global level, some of the forecasts that analysts actually have a lot of models that they work with, and they help you to actually forecast out, for example, what are some of the retail sales, the demand side, for example, all the way out to 2028. Okay, so this is very much on a global level. And we also have some industry teams as well, where we talk about, for example, within consumer goods, we talk about travel and tourism, we talk about US policy changes, etc. All right. So at the same time, on the global page, you'll find this commodities tab. So over here is where we cover both hard and soft commodities. So things like agriculture, all the way down to industrial. We cover things like energy as well. You can actually just hop on here if you are interested in a particular commodities. Okay, so everything that I brought you through, if there's one thing that you just want to take away from today is that you can just come onto the reports tab, and this is where you can actually pull out a lot of all these reports. We also cover things like democracy index as well, which is a proprietary report that EIU does. So this is very much on a global level. If you move to the geography tab and you click down, you'll see that we actually cover based on a regional level as well. So let's just say we take a look at Asia. All right, so what we have done is I brought you through the global overview, and now we're looking down a bit more on a specific level, on a regional level. So on the Asia page, you notice we have things like, we give you an overview again of what's happening in the region. So in Asia, this is where you can see things like geopolitical strain, some of these trends, like developments in Taiwan, Taiwan Straits, for example, South China Sea, Korean Peninsula. So those are things that is very much on a regionalized and localized context. As you can see, we have also very nice charts on the right for you as well to interact with as well. So coming down, we have these latest developments, very similar to what I brought you through in terms of the analysis a bit previously. So this is very much some of these event-driven pieces, right? So things like, for example, Bank of Japan, right? When they keep their rate steady, you want to understand what is the kind of implication for, maybe for your deals or for your trades or whatever, right? And even things like with the higher tariffs that US plans to impose on India, right? What's the kind of implication as well, right? So this is where we help you to understand on a deeper level, the kind of fallout, and so that you can actually help to, you can save time on trying to read up on all this, trying to understand and analyze this, and you can actually do the work that actually really matters. So beyond just the event-driven cases, we also do have some of the more deeper insights level, which is under the mass reads. So things like, for example, Indian democracy, right? I actually do encourage you to take a look on the Asia page, because every week we will have this very interesting piece called the Asia Week Ahead. This piece is actually compiled with a lot of close collaboration between the teams in Asia. They help you to understand some of the key things that's going to happen within Asia. So doesn't have to be particularly any country, but any whether is it in China, everything. It gives you a very good overview as you start the week to understand, for example, like Cambodia and Thailand, right? They will hold a general border community talk, right? Or Philippine president, what's going to happen is going to pay a state visit. So this gives a very good overview and a very quick briefing sheet, if you will, on what you can expect within Asia Pacific. All right, so lastly, we do have this. I'll just take you very quickly to the one-click report as well. So the one-click report is where you can actually get a lot of our forecast numbers. So for example, the key economies within Asia, what are some of our forecasts in terms of the GDP growth, inflation, etc. We provide a lot of this data as well in here. And you see that it's actually a very good balance between quantitative as well as qualitative. So you get both, not just the raw data, but you also get a lot of qualitative text to actually give you more context and color to the issue as well. And as I mentioned, we cover risk very closely as well. So those are things that we actually put in as well. Again, just to remind you, all these reports you can actually download as a PDF. So coming back onto the Asia page, essentially this is where you can get all those things that I have just covered. And I do encourage you to take a look on it later on. So now I'll move on. Now we have covered the global level, we have covered on the regional level, and now we just move on to the country level, right? So let's just say on a country level, let's just look at something that I'm sure a lot of people are concerned of right now. So let's just say America, right? You just want to understand, for example, what's happening on a country level from the politics all the way down to the policy side. This is where you can actually come on to. You'll notice that on a country level, we actually have more tabs for you to actually navigate to. And I will bring you through bit by bit. So on the essential page, if you scroll down, you have this very quick paragraph. Essentially, this is a summary of on a country level what's to be expected. Some of the key high-level figures from things like GDP growth to inflation, the exchange rates. These are all things you can actually find from here as well. And again, you can also download all these figures. Coming down, we do have all these latest developments. Similarly, very event-driven pieces. So things like, for example, North America trade deals, right? Or for example, the revision in the labor statistics, right? We actually publish a piece as well on that. Or US and China having a truce, right? For example, so if you click on that, this is where we talk about what has happened. Again, this is what you read in the news, but we go further and we explain why does this matter, right? And at the same time, we also help you to understand what you can expect next. So this is very much on the event-driven pieces. I do encourage you to take a look at the one-click report. If you're looking to compile a very comprehensive report on a particular country, this is where you want to come to. We give you a very good in-depth forecast figures as well from a quantitative side. But at the same time, you get very good qualitative explanations. So things like, for example, what EIU views are on the political and economic outlook for the US in this example, right? So we talk about things like, Trump's big, beautiful bill. We help you to give a lot of color and context to all these issues that is pertinent in a particular country. We don't just give you the outlook, but we also help you to look at things like political stability, right? So as we all know, US politics are more volatile right now. Their policy is in a very unpredictable direction. So these are all things that we walk you through all these issues so that you have a very good and comprehensive understanding. Even things like political effectiveness, all the way down to international relations. And beyond just the politics, we also look very closely at the economics as well. So from things like the monetary policy. So what does EIU think of the Fed, right? Do we expect the Fed to cut its rates, or do we expect it to raise its rates? So these are all things that we cover as well. And one thing that I will encourage you to take a look very closely at our forecast is that EIU has been recognized. A lot of our analysts has won. In fact, EIU won the most forecast awards in the most recent Focus Economics. So this is just a testament to how accurate our forecast actually really is. We also look at things like fiscal policy and how does this impact the deficit, for example, right? We look at things like inflation as well, which I know a lot of our clients follow closely as well. So yeah, this is all part of the economic outlook. Something that I encourage you to also look very closely is what we call the business environment. So EIU published this proprietary rankings, which is called the business environment, where we incorporate 11 main categories to actually help you understand some of the political environment within the country that you are operating in. So it can be political environment, it can be macroeconomic environment. You have things like looking at market opportunities, things like policy towards private enterprise and competition. So you notice that this model that we have on the business environment, it actually helps you to quantify a lot of things that are intangible. So things like, for example, how do you assess that the government of this country is friendly towards private enterprise or not friendly? This is something that our model actually helps you to aggregate it. We also look at things like policy towards foreign investment, foreign trade and exchange controls, taxes. And the good thing about our model is that we actually help you to look out into the future because this is a forward-looking model. So you essentially have a clear understanding of what you can expect from the forecast period of, for example, 2027 to 2029. Right, so these are all part of the business environment, and we also have charts for you to see whether is it improving. So like, for example, political environment, you can see that actually it is deteriorating, right? Similarly with the macroeconomic environment as well. So these are things that you can actually use to actually help you to plan your strategy as well. All right, and also on a country level, we also have a lot of all these industries. So for things like automotive, all the way down to consumer goods, to healthcare, these are all things that we cover very extensively on the country level. And at the end of this one-click report, you see a lot of all these key charts as well. All right, at this moment, I'm just going to take a quick pause to see if there's any questions. If there are, please put them in the chat, or feel free to write in Thai. We have definitely a lot of capabilities to answer you as well. At the same time, if you like to raise your hand, just feel free to do so. If not, I think then I will just proceed. But if there is any question, please feel free to stop. All right, so coming back onto the essential page for America. All right, just now what I brought you through is the one-click report. Again, just to bring you through this, some of the in-depth view, as well as some of the latest developments that we cover. Coming down, a lot of all these 5-year forecasts, these are all part of the one-click reports. All right, so the one-click report, if anything, is your go-to at the end of the day. So essentially, if you're looking to look at just politics of US, this is where the tab that you will go to. All right. We help you to filter accordingly. So like latest developments, everything that's relating to the politics, sorry, this is where you will find it as well. Okay, similarly for economy, where you can find things like, what are some of the economic developments that are within the United States, right? These are all within the economic tabs. Okay, and policy is where you can find a monetary and fiscal policy. But again, everything under these 3 tabs will be under the one-click report. Now, let me take you through the business environment. I mentioned a bit briefly earlier during the one-click report, but coming onto the business environment tab, you can actually see that we do, as I mentioned, it's a forward-looking model. So it helps you to understand, at least in the next 5 years, how is the business environment, how is it like doing business in the US, right? So we give you a good overview. As you see that actually our model is very robust. We help you to aggregate a lot of things that are intangible and help you to actually put it into qualitative context so that you can have a very, very comprehensive understanding of it. So looking at the strengths of the US, how is it like doing business? What are some of the strengths, as well as some of the weaknesses as well. So this is where we give you this model to help you understand that. And if you want to hone in on a particular topic, a particular category, so for example, on policy towards private enterprise, you can actually click on it and we actually give you a very good overview of it as well on a qualitative and a quantitative aspect as well. All right. So coming back onto the United States page, I mentioned that there are actually 6 key industries. So if you are looking at a particular industry, you can actually come on to that particular industry, and then you can actually scroll down and take a look at some of these insights. Right, so just very briefly, just wanted to bring you through as just for more awareness sake. EIU also covers very closely on risk. So we look very much at what we call operational risk. This is taking the business environment to the next level, where we look very solely from a risk perspective, the risk of doing business in that country. So you will see on the right, we have these 10 categories. So we have things like security risk, all the way down to tax policy, all the way down to infrastructure. And you notice that we actually aggregate with a scoring with an overall rating as well. So similar to what you get from your credit rating agencies, where we give like a score of A or a score of B. This is where you can actually get a very good understanding of the risk of doing business. And beyond just the score, if you actually expand out, we also actually cover some of this on a qualitative level to give you a bit more context, right? For example, with security, the risk is not high, and why is it so, right? Similar with political stability, government effectiveness. The interesting thing about this model is that we have this risk level key here. So the higher the number, I know we are so used to wanting to get 100 marks on everything on our exams and all, but in this instance, the higher it is, the more risky it is. So you can see under macroeconomic, for example, this is where, or even government effectiveness, the risk has actually risen, right? The risk of the government being ineffective has actually risen. And we actually give you a lot of context behind it so that you can actually understand why is it so. Beyond that, we also just help you to try to understand, like what are some of these things you should be doing to try and mitigate some of these risks as well. So this is what we call the operational risk module. If this is something that will be helpful for the ministry, just please feel free to reach out to Kunsukanya as well as anytime, so that we can always help you to get access to this. So yeah, this is actually the report that we actually also publish. And at the same time, I have covered quite a number of reports. Again, as I mentioned, if there's one thing you should take away from this whole session is that you can come onto this reports tab here. This is where you can pull out all these one-click reports. You can pull out the business environment, regulatory environment, operational risk if you're interested in. And this is, we also have archives that actually goes all the way back out to 2011 and 2012. All right, so that is very much on the country level. We have actually gone through the global overview. We have looked on a regional level. We have now looked on the country level. And you notice it's been very balanced in terms of qualitative and quantitative for reports as well as for data. But if data is something that you work very closely with, we have actually a dedicated data tool as well. So if you look at where my cursor is, this is where we actually have this data tab. If you click on it, it will bring you to the data tool. So on the left side, you can actually look at all the data series that EIU actually has and publishes. So if you follow very closely things like the GDP, right? So you can actually expand on it, but it can get really confusing. So if you are already clear on what particular data series you're looking for, you can actually just type in directly. So for example, if I'm looking at inflation, right, I can just look on consumer price index, right? And let's just say if I'm looking at GDP as well, right? So let's just say GDP growth. Let me see, if I look at, for example, real GDP, the percentage change, right? So I already know what I want, I can just search on it. And because the ministry has a global subscription, you can actually compare between all the different countries. So let's just say I want to compare the United States along with, let's just say maybe a country in Europe, let's just say Denmark, and also maybe a country in Asia. So I can actually choose as many as I want. And at the same time, because we have a lot of aggregate data, so you can actually open up aggregates. So if I want to compare this with, let's just say, the entire Southeast Asia. Yeah, so we do have a lot of data aggregates for you. Feel free to open it. So let's just say maybe I choose Asia Pacific. All right. Now moving on to the third column, we do have different time periods for you to manipulate the data, work with the data with. So let's just say I want 2015 to 2032, let's just say, right? You can view it as a table or you can view it as a chart. In this instance, I'll just view it as a chart just because I like charts more and it's more interactive. So this is actually how it will actually generate out. So you can see the 3 countries I've chosen, right? These are, and this is the data set for consumer price index or inflation, right? You can actually toggle it to a table if you like to see it in a more numbers form. At the same time, you can also put it by geography. So you can actually play around with the data too. So let's just say if I put for, you can toggle by the country that you want to view at, right? You can toggle by the date. or you can actually configure by the series which we were working with earlier on. So there's actually it's a very interactive tool for you to work around with. You can change it to real GDP, and you can actually take a look at this as well. So let's just say if we look at chart. So this is actually how it works. If you scroll further down, you will actually, if you want to understand, because we have more than 1,000 data series and data sets in our site, you can actually understand where this data come from. So for example, for China, the GDP index actually comes from this China National Bureau of Statistics, right? And when was this published as well? So it's a very comprehensive way to understand the data that you're working with. Now, one thing I want to highlight to you is that for all the data that you work with, you can actually download into Excel, or if you like the charts, you want to download into JPEG, you can also download as a JPEG image as well. Okay, so this is the data tool. Now, one thing I want to highlight is that EIU, again, as part of our continued investments, we actually have worked with Microsoft to come up with an Excel add-in. So if you like to download and retrieve our data really easily, you can actually use our Excel add-in. It's just an add-in tool. Please feel free to reach out to Kun Sukanya and the team if you need help setting that up, because we do have a guide for that as well. Now, we're reaching the end of the presentation soon. I just want to highlight this top column here where you see where my cursor is. This is the methodologies page. So a lot of what we have covered today, if you want to understand some of the modeling that we have done, or if you want to understand some of the, what goes into the forecast or what goes into the assumptions in it, the methodologies page is where you will want to come on to. So for example, our short or even our long-term forecast, this is where we actually look at some of this. So for example, our long-term forecast is very much on the demand side basis, right? We talk about what model we use, how we actually aggregate the business environment ranking. So this is where you can come in to understand the model a bit better. And last but not least, as users of EIU Viewpoint, again, going back to the point that all of you are also busy on a day-to-day basis, you will not have time to come on the site, browse around. I encourage all of you to actually set up alerts. So if you see where is my alerts, this is where you can actually this is where you can actually set up an alerts based on the countries that you cover. So if your remit is for a particular set of countries, so let's just say if I'm interested in let's just say Canada, I'm interested in China, a wide eclectic range of countries, you can actually go ahead and choose from there. Any updates that we publish on all these countries or any event-driven pieces we publish, you will actually receive an email alert. This way, you don't have to come onto the site every day, but yet you will still be kept up to date every time we have a new article that we publish. Similarly, if you are looking at a particular industry or if you're looking at a particular topic, this is where you can actually come on to. Or if you're looking even at commodities, this is where you can be kept up to date with all our alerts. So I do encourage you after this session to actually set up your alerts so that you can actually have, you can actually utilize to the maximum, to the best of the subscription that the ministry has. I have actually come to the end of the presentation right now. So I'm happy to take any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself or put any questions into the chat. I'm just going to go ahead and stop sharing for a second.
มีคำถามอะไรอยากสอบถามเพิ่มเติมไหมคะมีแปลไหมคะ
แปลคงไม่มีค่ะ
เดี๋ยวไว้ทำภาษาไทยคู่มือให้ก็ได้คู่มือเดี๋ยวไว้เดี๋ยวแปลถ้าเกิดได้ไม่มา
ก็เดี๋ยวช่วงท้ายนะคะก็เดี๋ยวทางสนคจะส่งคู่มือให้กับยูเซอร์นะคะคู่มือการใช้งานนะคะในส่วนของสนคเนี่ยนะคะเราจะได้พอร์ตบันทึกการอบรมนี้ไว้นะคะแล้วก็เดี๋ยวเราจะเผยแพร่ในอินเทอร์เน็ตของสนคนะคะในส่วนของกรมถ้าอยากได้วิดีโอนะคะก็เดี๋ยวเราก็สามารถที่จะเอาท ำได้นะคะมามา copy ได้แต่ว่าเราไม่สามารถส่งทางอีเมลให้ได้นะคะเนื่องจากไฟล์ใหญ่ๆเกินมีคำถามเพิ่มเติมไหมคะ